Buffalo Sabres have won a hockey. I can't believe it. I brought a new mascot for this season. Absolutely incredible. Hurles, I'm in a glass case of emotion. First off, can you hear me echoing?
Yeah. You're coming in faint.
I'm like echoing for whatever reason. I don't understand why.
Whoa.
We're not too sure what's going on. This whole thing has been a too sure why we're echoing right now.
You sound better to me now.
I'm not echoing?
No.
I'm echoing on my end. Not really. So that being said, Sabres win an emotional game, a must-win game in size, 8-4. I mean, how many multiple Josh Doan coming out party? Zach Benson is back. I mean, let's go to the rundown here, Hurles. What an effort from the Buffalo Sabres tonight.
Yeah, they were desperate. They've been talking about it all off season long, that they need to be a desperate team to get out of this funk that they're in, especially in this first 3 games. And they played like that tonight. And the turning point was that allowed goal by Jake Sanderson in the second period, which they reviewed for goaltender interference. I personally thought that it shouldn't have been allowed. I don't like those types of plays, just poking and poking and poking, and eventually they're able to get a loose puck after it should have been blown dead. Either way, didn't matter. The team, I think, used that as fuel, and they got pissed off. The fans were pissed off. Everybody was pissed off, and they played that way. And that's exactly the same way that they need to play for the rest of the season. Everybody should be pissed off at the state of what's happening. And if they translate that to their play and in all areas of the ice, as they did tonight, in front of the net, in the neutral zone, defensively, even in goal, I think it'll benefit everybody. So, yeah, let's just be pissed off. I'm pissed off. Everybody's pissed off. Let's play like it. Oh, can't hear you now.
I listen, it's not, I mean, that first goal, for instance, man, how Sabres, that would be their first power play goal this season. They had a shorthanded goal. I mean, how many power play goals did they have tonight?
3.
They had 3. Do we have the best power play in the league right now? I mean, might as well just say it. Best power play in the league.
Probably not, but I mean, this definitely helps the cause. Absolutely. A night like this can give a team so much confidence moving forward. Obviously, they've had success against the Senators recently, and this can't be expected to replicate against other teams, especially the Panthers on Saturday, but they're pretty banged up. They're coming into this game with a lot of injuries. So it's not the same Panthers team that we're used to. So hopefully they can use this momentum on Saturday. Nope.
Absolutely, bud. I again, to your point.
Can't hear you now. No. I'll take it from here for a second. Just running through some of the nights from the Sabres.
How about now?
I can hear you now. Real quick. 3 assists for Zach Benson in his first game of the season, wearing a bubble, coming off getting hit in the face less than a week ago, going to the hospital, any type of infection, whatever caused him to go to the hospital. Zach Benson is still Zach Benson, and he looks even better than last season and the season prior. So that's good news. Josh Doan, bigger Zach Benson, 3 assists. Ryan McLeod, 2 goals. Jason Zucker, 2 goals. Alex Tuck, a goal and an assist. Peyton Krebs, an assist. Kulik with the empty net goal. Rasmus Dahlin, 2 assists. This is the exact type of night that they needed in a division game against a rival, against a team that they've dominated recently. Senators fans must be beside themselves, given that they're a relatively above average team that made the playoffs last season. Obviously, no Brady Tkachuk tonight, who would have thrived in a game like this had he been out there. But the fact that they can't even compete recently they're 0-5 in their last 5 games against the Sabres, they must be absolutely beside themselves. 0-5 in their last 5 games against the Sabres, they must be absolutely beside themselves.
Yeah, I it's literally just been. I mean, we had an injury riddled team beats an injury riddled team. Obviously, we had their backup tonight, and it's just been. I'm not gonna lie, Hurles. I keep hearing myself twice on my end, so I'm gonna kick it back to you here, just because until I get this figured out. If you want to keep talking about the game,
Yeah, just sign out, sign back in. I'll
yeah,
take it from
no
you.
problem. So sorry about the inconvenience, guys. I'm hearing myself twice. This is getting out of control. So I'll kick it over to him.
Running through some of these post-game quotes from Brian Crozier, WGR. Ruff says, when you get pucks to the net, especially on the power play, nice things happen. They got rewarded for that. We say that a lot on this show. Ruff says, the scrum in front of the Ottawa bench, they had 5 guys in on that. It gave them a jump. They played with passion. Also said a lot. Ruff says the power play goal from Quinn was a break that they needed. As they said, they needed something to go right. And for a puck to go off the backboards, off the goalie, off a missed shot into the net. Sometimes the puck bounces your way. I know that as a goalie, and sometimes it doesn't. The puck bounced our way that time, and it worked out. McLeod says they were a desperate group tonight. Tonight was a staple for what they need to do going forward. Tuck says the energy was contagious. The bench was good, taking accountability. They were working for each other. Still hear an echo on my end. I don't know what that is.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but my voice echoes on your screen.
I have no idea what's going on. Can people in the comments are we being heard twice here? Like, can you? Is there like this massive echo? Because now I'm fine on my end. I don't hear myself twice, but now you're hearing me twice.
So I hear myself on your computer. It like echoes on yours.
Really?
Yeah, not a big deal though.
Okay. I mean, at least we can just kind of just finish. Can someone in the comments if they can hear me twice, or is it all good on your end? Sounds like a Sabres press conference. Okay. So we're rolling. How many different players had points tonight? Like that is like, I think like 11 or 12.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13.
13 different players had at least 1 point tonight. McLeod with 2 goals, Zucker with 2 goals, Jack Quinn with 2 goals, Tuck with a goal and an assist, Yuri Kulik with the empty netter at the end, which was a very dramatic empty netter. I felt like 3 different players. You thought 3 different players were to score on the empty net. Tage, Tommy Dangles, pulls a move out of his butt and, gets it over to Kulik. He doesn't score immediately. I think first shot was blocked, and then he got it on the second attempt. But just overall, I know it'll go quietly. Maybe I don't know how noticed it was, but shout out to Lindy Ruff for that timeout. Like absolute shout out to him for that timeout. That was imperative.
Yeah, to begin after they made it 5-4 in the third period, collecting the group, getting them to focus, getting back to what they did so well in the second period. I mean, that's a seasoned coach who's been in that situation before. He knew what to say, he knew what to do, and they responded in kind.
No doubt about it. Alex Lyon. I mean, the score, he lets 4 goals in, but make no mistake about it. If Alex Lyon didn't play as well as he did, especially for that start of the second period, they lose this game. No way about it. Like they would have lost this game if not for the way Alex Lyon showed up tonight. Again, I know he gave up 4. That's great and everything, but I think quietly he's like a quiet hero of this game. I know we're a goalie podcast and we tend to obviously be goalie biased, but it's true. I think Alex Lyon had his 4th really good game in a row. We'll see with the next game where I know they have a back-to-back coming up against Toronto. I'm not sure how they're going to handle that. If it will be Colton Ellis, we're assuming we're going to see UPL get a rehab stint soon here in Rochester. Will he be ready in time? I don't know. But Alex Lyon, fantastic game.
I mean, they were outshot 36-27. So it says a lot that the score is 8-4, and also they basically had a lead the entire game. He made a lot of really big saves in high danger situations, as he's done throughout these first 4 games. Those first 3 games could have been a lot worse than what the score said. So for him to play as well as he has with a new team in all of these tough situations speaks a lot about him and his experience and how he can play as a goalie.
No doubt about it. And I think he just brings a calmness, especially for them defensively. It seems like eventually, I know we were playing Ottawa, they're injury riddled, they're playing their backup, but like having a guy back there be as consistent as he's been, it's not something they've had for a while, and I think they're going to start taking chances more, maybe even offensively, because they know they have a guy back there that can bail them out when need be.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's the best goaltending situation that they've had in a good amount of years. And I think it gives them confidence. It gives them the ability to play like this chaotic team that was so good during the 2022-2023 season. This is the best version of this group when they are allowed to play freely, to take chances, to send pucks through the neutral zone of the offensive zone and get up the ice and get odd man rushing.
I could agree with you more.
The way that they played in those first 3 games, this defensive, hard to play against type system, they don't have the personnel for that. They're not the early 2000s New Jersey Devils. They don't have the ability. They don't have the players to play that type of game. They have the skill. They have the speed. They need to lean into this. And if they win games 8-4, it's a lot better than losing games 3-1.
Agreed. Can we talk a little about Josh Doan too? I know we kind of talked a little bit about him earlier, but like just how much I kind of listed on the episode that today was kind of like his coming out party with 3 assists, but like especially on that one goal, I forget who it was, but the hard work he put in to make that to make that play happen. Just an incredible game, and just the amount of size he has, the grit he plays with, the energy he brings in. He is the type of player, at least in my opinion, this team hasn't had in quite some time.
Yeah, I mean, it's the type of player that they hope to get, trading, obviously, someone with high-end offensive production in JJ Peterka for a forward like Josh Doan, who can play both ends of the ice, who can agitate, who can get into corners, who can forecheck. He's as I said earlier, a bigger version of Zach Benson. Not that much bigger, but he plays in a similar way. Alex Tuck said it after the game that he's a dog. Like, that's the exact best way to describe him as a hockey player. And I think as he continues to get more comfortable in his role with this team, I think he's only going to get better.
I couldn't agree with you more. I do want to take a second here to pause, just to recognize our sponsors. I know we are like a little erratic there in the beginning, but just shout out to Fatty Beer Company, Western New York's premier market and tap room with over 300 beers to choose from at 7 different Western New York locations. If you need a beer, make sure you make it a Fatty Beer. And of course, our newest sponsor, Impulse Physical Therapy of Western New York. Absolutely unreal services they offer out of Impulse in Depew, New York, on Broadway in the plaza next to DNL. Whether it's you need your physical testing done, you have a sports related injury, any injury at all, make sure you give Impulse a shout. They'll take care of you over there. I've firsthand seen the services they offer and the building they work out of, and again, it is 5 stars in my opinion. Give them a shout and let them know 2 goalies when Mike sent you. Now getting back to the game. How do you carry this over? Like, I don't want obviously you want them to be positive about a win like this. You want them to, try and build off this, no doubt. I mean, especially like, first off, how nervous were you to start that third period when they scored 2 quick ones? Were you getting flashbacks to Colorado?
Of course. And I think it's natural as a Sabres fan to feel that way. But as you said, the timeout by Lindy was absolutely crucial, and they were able to collect themselves and continue to play the way that they did in the second period rather than fall back into that shell, which they did to begin the third. That's super, super important in situations like that. They say in the NFL, the only thing that prevent defense does is prevent you from winning. They were in a prevent defense. They were playing scared. They were obviously even that miscommunication between Lyon and Doan when they exchanged there right next to the net. You can't second guess yourself. You have to.
No.
You have to be sure of yourself in those situations and get the puck out. And that's what they eventually did and got it back in the offensive zone.
Mm-hmm. And again, this was a game where you kind of came in on the schedule. You start 0-3. You look at this game. This is a very winnable game. No Brady Tkachuk. They're dealing with their own injury issues. Starting their backup, which is awesome in this case. But I to your point, to carry this over, I think it's going to start with coaching, right? You don't want these guys to you don't want to get too high. You don't want to get too low. You have some tough divisional games coming up. You have to keep your foot on the gas, practice hard. You're going to play the way you practice. And, you saw again, it was surprising to see, plus minus a very deceptive stat, but seeing, with the obviously not, I think it was like Tuck was like a -2 tonight in an 8-goal performance, even though he had a couple points. Again, you want to. These are like tonight was a nice start, but you really need to build all this, and your stars need to start shining. Like, good to see Alex Tuck get on the board. Let's keep going. It's good to see Jason Zucker get on the board. Let's keep going. Yuri Kulik, I know like Lindy was trying to send a message in practice by having him play on the 5th line. And then surprisingly, I think a lot of people were surprised that he was in tonight's lineup. And then Lindy says, I was just going to try and see how he reacted to, being scratched, essentially feeling like he was going to be scratched. And then he was on the 4th line with Kozak and Malenstein. That again, Malenstein had to leave the game because, he's going to have a baby. Obviously, great reason. But I think great. You got that first win. You got that monkey off your shoulders. But now it's time to take this momentum, take this energy. And now that you've shown that you can play with this type of energy, you had a good start to this. I really think the first period, granted, yeah, they were outshot. I don't think they were massively outplayed. I'd think if you're splitting hairs, you would say Ottawa's probably the better team in the first, but they responded very well in the second with a 4-goal rally. Started off slowly in the third, but then just put their foot right back on the gas. And I even said it, like, just because you're winning by a couple here, don't take your foot off the gas. Keep it on the gas. You're up 5-2, don't get conservative. And you felt that White was kind of going in that direction there to start the third, but then you put your foot back on the gas and you just blew them completely out of the water. You didn't let them gain any momentum with those 2 quick ones to start the third. And I say this was probably their easily, I mean, again, they came in winless, but their most complete game without a doubt.
Yeah.
I know, to say the least, but
yeah. Thank you, Captain Obvious.
No, I know, but you know what I mean?
Yeah,
talking points, like there wasn't there. You could split hairs about certain things, but I mean, how much bad was there to talk about tonight? Not much.
No, I mean, aside from the beginning of the third, I think that's about it. Yeah, I'm super, super happy, and maybe the result of those games, and there was some puck luck, obviously, and there's a perceived lack of effort in certain situations, but I think those results caused, or at least factored into what happened tonight. Maybe that's what they needed mentally, emotionally, physically for them to come out and perform the way that they did tonight. That shouldn't be the case. They should have performed like this last Thursday against a clearly very bad New York Rangers team that's been shut out at home 3 straight games. But they didn't have Zach Benson. There were a lot of injuries. No Owen Power. They couldn't buy a goal against the best goalie in the league. It is what it is. This team, and what Tage Thompson said after the game the other night, they have no choice but to look at the season by a game-by-game basis. The fans can do whatever they want. They can think about 14 years. They can think about 4 weeks, 4 months, whatever they need to do. But this team needs to only focus on the Florida Panthers on Saturday and then take each game by game from there.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Again, it's, you have some tough matchups coming. I know I just said do you continue to ride Alex Lyon like this?
Well, you have 2 days off before Florida. So I think you definitely play him Saturday. And then who do they have after that? I think it's potentially a little bit closer. So we've got Florida on Saturday, which gives him 2 days against his former team. And then the Canadians on Monday. So let's say he plays well on Saturday, gets a day of rest in between. Then he's able to play Monday, and they don't have a back-to-back until next weekend, home and home with Toronto.
So, I'm excited for that.
Yeah, I mean, if he continues to play well, then I think you could play him all 3 games next week, or potentially you do, Saturday against the Panthers, Monday against the Canadians, Wednesday against Detroit, 2 of his 3 of his former teams. And then maybe give him a rest Friday at home against the Leafs, and then go back with him on Saturday against the Leafs in Toronto. Also depends on UPL's health. Depends on how confident they feel about Colton Ellis. If they potentially what the Amherst schedule is, how well Devin Levi is playing. A lot goes into this, but I think you can be confident at least the next few games that you have your starter in Alex Lyon. He's holding up his end of the bargain, and you can trust him back there, which is obviously huge.
Yeah, no doubt. And Colton Ellis, I know we talked about this on Tuesday night, but like, who knows? I have no clue when the last time that guy played in any form of a National Hockey League game, preseason or regular season. Actually, I don't think he's ever played in a regular season game.
He hasn't played in the NHL before, yeah.
No, so this, like, his first opportunity would be with Buffalo. But to your point, like, I think there could be a good chance that they might call upon Levi to come potentially, fill in that role. And if that's the case, I'm not sure what's going on with Georgiev. Hear the rumors about Russia. I know he did report to Rochester and he practiced, but I mean, I think he'd probably be the odd man out once UPL is ready to come back. I know you have to get out of here. You have a game of your own, but do you have any final thoughts before you head out? And I'll kind of finish things off.
It's nice to live in this moment of bliss, given what's transpired in the past week and a half. Nights like this make you remember why you're a fan in the first place, why you care about this team as much as you do. Makes not all of the trials and tribulations worth it, but in a micro level, in this scope of time tonight, we're allowed to be happy and excited about what just transpired. And we can use that as fuel moving forward and continue to support this team as much as we can. There's a video that I tweeted out earlier of a guy telling the refs to fuck off after.
I saw that. That was awesome.
After they overturned the goal, and then didn't and the play stood after the replay, and there's this little kid looking up at him like, oh my God. But that guy represents everything that exists inside all of us as Sabres fans. The passion, the vitriol for rivals, the steadfastness in the face of really, really intense adversity that we've all experienced in the past 14 to 18 years. So I encourage people to continue to support the team, to look at it a game-by-game basis, to support these guys as much as possible, because at the end of the day, nights like this are really fun. There are going to be losses. This team is going to have growing pains. It's a largely new group, but as we get healthier, continue to get better, I do believe in this group a lot more than I have in other groups of the past couple of years. So stay the course. We'll see you Saturday morning, 10 a.m. for me, Pacific time.
One quick question for you to answer. You make it real quick. Have you ever let in a goal like Buffalo's first power play goal today?
Off the backboards, off my back into the net? No, I haven't.
No,
there's no way that's ever happened, because that is a 1 in a million type bounce.
The only thing I could say that would be like remotely close to that for me, it didn't go off the boards. It was like from the far blue line, and it was just like kind of like those alley-oop deals. You're kind of watching it come down, and you're trying to brace yourself, and then it just bounced, honest to God, like a foot in front of me and went right over my shoulder in the net.
Yeah, I mean, I've had goals. Yeah, I've had goals from beyond the blue line, maybe even beyond the red line. I had one in a beer league where I tried to, we were up 3-0 at the end of the period, and I thought it was over, and I tried to smack it out of the air and hit in my own net. That was my own fault. I've had obviously goals scored on me from behind the net on purpose, but for a shot to miss the net, hit the boards, go off the goalie's back into the net, that is unbelievably unfortunate luck for I forget his name, the Senators backup goalie, but I feel for him in that case. He had a rough night. Hopefully,
yeah,
not against the Sabres. I'm hopeful. I always root for goalies that he can respond the next game. Because,
no doubt about it.
That's definitely not a tough situation to be in.
Definitely not a goalie friendly game tonight. Well, Curls, I'll let you get out of here. I know I got some traffic to deal with. I'll finish things out.
All right, we'll see you.
Yeah, we'll see you later. I got to get rid of the overlay here. Again, just, we're going through the motions to start the season to ourselves here. I had some audio issues pretty early on, at least on my end, and thank you guys for sticking through it. Hopefully that doesn't affect the audio only listeners after we upload this. I had no idea how you would get rid of that, but I was like, for me, so essentially I was hearing myself talk in almost like a 7-second delay. And there's points in this where I'm waiting for Hurles to talk, or I'm hearing him talk, but it's not really him talking because he's already spoken. It was wild, man. And I eventually had to cut out and be like, hey, I got to get out of here and just try and I'll come back into the room. Hopefully that's all fixed. But You gotta cut us some slack. We're still going through the opening season, motions here, getting the rust off, I guess, even though we really never left you guys in the off season, just a little bit less frequently. But yeah, I watched the game start to finish. I just want to keep talking about Josh Doan. I've seen comments in the chat here. I've seen it on Twitter, like how difficult of a player he is to play against. Absolutely incredible. And again, we've seen shades of it in the first 3 games, even though obviously the final score didn't go our way. But just his physicality, his willingness to go to the net, to defend the front of his own net. It's nice to see. And it kind of goes back to that narrative that Lindy talked about. Like, you want to be tougher to play against. Well, those are the types of players you need. Like guys like Josh Doan. I'm not saying every guy needs to be like Josh Doan. You need guys, skill guys and stuff like that. And I'm not saying that Josh Doan doesn't have the ability to skill. I think he has shown it. But, oh my goodness, man. Just what a gem to get out of that Peterka deal. And, I know you're going to see JJ Peterka go and score a ton of goals for Utah. I think that's probably inevitable. But if Kesselring gets healthy and he really works out and shores up that back end, and Doan continues to give us this, maybe not always be that 3-point-a-night guy, but gives us that type of effort and just makes it that difficult to play against. Like, I think of a universe where him and Tuck are even on the same line. Like, that would be like just Tuck, because Tuck is a difficult player to play against. I imagine even skilled forwards and other teams don't like being matched up against Alex Tuck, because I think he's easily the team's best defensive forward. But imagine like having to deal with those two on a line together, with somebody with some skill at the center ice at center. Like, that would be incredible. I know Tuck, and I think Tuck and McLeod look pretty good tonight. McLeod centering that. And again, we'll see how these lines continue to shake out. I know they had, I believe the first line was it was Tuck, Tage, and Benson. They obviously didn't have Kulich center that line, or have Kulich up on that line like it was at the end of last season. But I genuinely, I know intern Joey mentioned something in the chat. I loved Tuck and McLeod together too tonight. But Josh Doan, man, after tonight, I'm ready to buy a Josh Doan jersey. I don't know about you guys. That guy, if that is the guy you're going to get every night, regardless of how many points he puts up, or maybe he doesn't put up points, sign me up for 82 games a season. No doubt. I love watching hockey players like that. Seriously, I couldn't express it more. And again, we'll see how things again shake out here. They get healthier. We're supposed to get Jordan Greenway back soon. He's practicing. UPL will be back soon, even though your issue definitely has not been in net. At this point, I think it's Alex Lyon's net to lose. And you know how Lindy likes to ride the hot hand. And I think, again, I as I stated before, Alex Lyon has given you a calmness and a comfortability, not just from a coach's perspective, but from a player perspective. You have to imagine that when you have that type of a guy in net for you, who's going to, bail you out with some big time saves when you need them, it loosens you up a little bit. You know what I mean? I'm not saying get irresponsible defensively. You're going to take more chances. You think about the days. I'm not comparing Alex Lyon to guys like Ryan Miller and Dominik Hasek, but that was the deal with them, because you knew you had a world-class goalie in the back there that can make those big saves for you and bail you out when you need him to. Well, again, I'm not saying Alex Lyon's world-class, but he's been fantastic through 4 games. Grant, I don't care what their record is. He has been their best player just about every night. I would even venture to say he might have been their best player tonight for 75% of the game. Again, I can't see a world where you are starting Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen over Alex Lyon for any other reason other than to give Alex Lyon a break. That is the only reason Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen should be starting over Alex Lyon, until Alex Lyon's play indicates otherwise. I can't for the life of me see a world where that happens. And I'm going to bring up Brian Koziel's comments right now from post game. We'll see. Obviously, you imagine the morale is pretty awesome right now. Zucker says the shorthanded goal was a huge momentum boost for them to turn the tide in the second period. He also says they got more pucks around the net, more bodies around the net, and special teams was big. Yeah, like special teams was huge for the night. But again, like they're the little things, like getting bodies to the net and obviously interfering with, the goaltender being able to track the puck. That's huge. And that's just like hockey 101 thing. Like why, like that should not be difficult to do. Alex Tuck on Josh Doan. He's a dog. He's a dog. He's been awesome. Lots of positive energy off the ice. A lot of fun to be around, and his work ethic is great. Tuck says the energy was contagious, says the bench was good, taking accountability. They were working for each other. McLeod says they were a desperate group tonight. Tonight was a staple for what to do going forward. Lindy Ruff says the power play goal from Quinn was a break they really needed. Yeah, like, and again, especially when your first two goals were very fluky, like Zucker's, the first goal, obviously in game number 2, the first goal for the Sabres in the season, goes off a Boston player. And then obviously the turnaround, from downtown shot, Alex Tuck just putting a puck on net, making its way through against Colorado. Yeah, like the 2 breaks and you get a third break. But the thing is, you built off that and you scored hockey goals. Like you scored non-fluky hockey goals. Ref says the scrum in front of the Ottawa bench, they had 5 guys in on that. It gave them a jump. They play with passion. And you know what? Owen Power, a guy who has been vastly criticized for not being physical, not playing with grit, not playing with sandpaper, he was in the middle of that. And I've criticized him for those things too. A lot of people have. But at the end of the day, like he was involved. He got his nose a little dirty. It was tough to see through all that thing. But you have Timmins getting into a fight there. You have Peyton Krebs involved. Like you had 5 guys into a scrum. When is the last time you saw something like that? It's awesome. Agreed. It's Lions net. I ordered my Doan jersey the day of the trade. I love to hear it. UPL needs to play thinking he's competing for a job. But like, here's the thing. Like with UPL, like I feel like he's always been competing for his job, and it's never ended up in favor of UPL, except for like a 35 game stretch when he earned that contract. He has lost his job to long in the tooth veterans 2 years in a row, Craig Anderson and James Reimer. So I've always said it, and I'll say it 1,000 times more. You learn a lot about an athlete when their back is against the wall, especially a goaltender, like how they respond and how they come out and how they compete. So this is right here for UPL. Like you got to feel like the pressure's on for him. Again, hopefully he, accepts this challenge and, excels, or hopefully, unhopefully, I hope we don't see the same old UPL we have seen the past 2 seasons. Steve Noble, I do not trust UPL to give him the net back. Lyon has played with consistency this team's needs. From Connor, what's up, buddy? Just play your game and make the other team play your game instead of your opponent's game. Couldn't agree more. You know what I mean? Listen, yep. I actually just watched the movie Coach Carter the other day. If you remember that speech he gave in the openings of the state championships, he goes, you're not playing your game. You're playing their game right now. When we play our game, it's pedal to the metal from start to finish. And like, yeah, that's what tonight felt like, with a few little lapses, but like you were pedal to the metal the moment you took that lead. You kept your foot on the gas and you didn't give up on yourselves. And, it showed on the scoreboard. Like even when you started to feel those old negative vibes come back at the start of the third period, you didn't falter. You stuck to your plan. Bodies and pucks to the net. Keep skating hard. It all just went in their favor tonight, and I couldn't be more encouraged with what we saw, and hopefully it just continues. From intern Joey, Ryan Johnson has been so impressive. He looks so much more physical this year. Saw him throw a hip check in the corner today. Yeah, I've been a little impressed. He took a penalty today, but like, he doesn't play a game that you're going to notice every night. He plays a very stay-at-home style. He plays well defensively. Hopefully he keeps, he builds off this game and, continues to, be encouraging, because, Matthias Samuelsson, if he gets healthy, when he gets healthy, that's his spot. Again, just like UPL with Alex Lyon, earn that spot and put yourself in a position where you have to play yourself out of it. Because in my opinion, just because you're getting paid whatever Samuelson's getting paid right now, it doesn't mean he should have the net. Not at all. From intern Joey, McLeod is the perfect hockey player. He's legitimately great on all 4 lines in all situations, had chemistry with all 11 forwards. fantastic game tonight. That shorthanded goal and the hard work that they put into that it just goes to show there. You have a couple guys on this team that are phenomenal penalty killers, just as an Alex Tuck. Ryan, McLeod too. He was awesome. From Jaybird, still have some defensive issues. Face-offs were not good, but if you play with that energy, with speed, you can compete, especially with Lyon playing like this. Yeah, again, the way he plays, it gives you a chance to win every single night. Face-offs, that's something they just need to work on. I think that maybe it's something you just practice and keep practicing. Just keep hammering home different styles of how to win a face-off. Again, these guys are professionals. It shouldn't be. I don't know, man. A face-off is, I remember with Ryan O'Reilly, it really was an art form for some players, with how good they've been, how good they always are. So I don't know. You were hoping for Josh Norris, if he was healthy, to really be that guy on important offensive, defensive zone draws. Hasn't worked out. Obviously, we're going to be out with him for about 2 months. But again, play with this energy, and hopefully those breaks in the face-off circle will start to come go your way. Ottawa looked lost at times. Yeah, man. And again, they looked like they were kind of getting their game back there to start the third, and then we just snatched it right back from them. And then they just looked so defeated. They really, really did. Some more comments here from the post game. Ruff says, when you get pucks to the net, especially on the power play, nice things happen. They got rewarded for that. Lindy Ruff says they have been hit hard with injuries. Getting Benson back was a huge plus. Say they will be even better once they get more players back on D, but they have to fight either way. They didn't fight enough in the first 3 games. Again, I agree. Hopefully this just isn't tonight's result just wasn't because of how, again, many injuries they're dealing with too. Hopefully this isn't just a situation where, they're playing their backup goalie. And even if it is that, who gives a shit? Who gives a flying fuck? Go out there and continue to play with that type of energy. It's not hard, in my opinion, to go out and just play with jump and play with energy. Just do that every night. Give that effort every single night. I have said it 1,000 times. This fan base will embrace you if they never have to question your heart and your effort and your passion and your willingness to win a hockey game. We have rooted for very average to mediocre teams in the past that were barely 500 hockey teams. And the players, obviously, I think really built off that with the fans. In Buffalo, it's true. Fans do matter in a lot of games, the energy that you can bring to players. Obviously, with Tage Thompson's negativity can breed negativity. Absolutely. But you also have to give fans a reason to feel positive and be positive during games. And tonight is one of those nights. Continue to build off that. If you continue to give that effort, even if the result always doesn't go your way, but at the end of the game, you're like, man, I can't. There's no questioning their effort. They play their balls off. They skated their balls off. How can you question that effort? I'm telling you, man, just know that this fan base will embrace you, and we will get behind you. We'll be frustrated and we'll be angry, but if we never have to question your effort, if we never have to question the work ethic and the passion and the determination and the sense of urgency, you know what? We won't sit here and act the way we have over the past, some odd years. It's just a fact. It is an absolute certainty. Right? Everybody in this chat, I feel the guys who, especially the ones I know who have been a fan, ride or die. You all know we will support you regardless, no matter what. Us fans will always be back up this team. Go Sabres. No doubt about it. So I don't have much left to say. My final thoughts are this. You get a couple nights off. I'm assuming they're going to go right back to Alex Lyon. I'm going to go through their schedule. I know Hurles did earlier, but their schedule coming up here. Next game they have is before that home and home coming up with Toronto. You have the Panthers, defending Stanley Cup champions. Again, an injury-riddled team. But even regardless, they still have Sam Reinhart. They still have Bob and Ned. Maybe we don't get Bob. I don't know. That team is still a very good hockey team. I know they don't have Matthew Tkachuk. I know they don't have Barkov. They are definitely missing a number of players. But again, they're a team that has been successful over the last handful of years because they've been deep. I know state taxes do play into that, Carnaby says, but they have been deep, and they've never really ever had to question their willingness to win and the style of hockey they play. And it's contagious. Somebody in the chat said earlier, like, that style of play can be contagious up and down your lineup, and that is an example for the Florida Panthers. They do exemplify that. So that game is on Saturday at 1 p.m. You have the Canadians on Monday, which, again, that is an away game, I believe. Yes, we are playing at the Bell Center in Montreal. And then Wednesday against Detroit next week. And then you have the home and home against Toronto. You have Toronto. You have Toronto at home on Friday, October 24th, and then on the 25th in Toronto. It's been a long time since we've done a home and home in Toronto, and that is one thing I've desperately begged for years. Is just find a way to make that rivalry relevant again. And maybe this is a good start. Maybe they build off tonight, and we can go into those games, and I'm not gonna say be above 500, but have some exciting hockey to look forward to. So I'll hang up and listen, guys. I appreciate you guys all tuning in. Apologize for the audio issues earlier. It was driving me nuts too. If hopefully on the audio side of things, for those who listen later, it isn't an issue. I do want to give another shout out to our sponsors, Fatty Beer Company, Western New York's premier market and tap room with over 300 beers to choose from. If you need a beer, as always, please make sure you make it a Fatty Beer. And please do not forget Impulse Physical Therapy of Western New York. They are located in Depew, New York at 5087 Broadway, Suite 100, directly next to Catalyst Fitness. If you have a sports-related injury, you want to get an athlete, you want to get your physical testing, whatever it might be, please choose Impulse Physical Therapy of Buffalo, Western New York. They have an insanely very high-class facility, 5 stars, in my opinion. They're rated 5 stars on Google if you want to go take a look. Alex Peters over there, who's run a really, really, really good ship. So go check them out. I am Duane from 2 Goalies, 1 Mic. This has been the first winning edition of I'll Hang Up and Listen on the season. I will talk to you guys later. And as always, go Sabres.